technique that I can demonstrate is called Ovulation. This is where there's one particular point on the bowl that works very well, on this particular one, that gives me a number of different pitches. Not every bowl will do that. Has to be a particularly good one. And I'm just using my mouth like an echo chamber. I'm not breathing on it, I'm not singing to it. I say this because many people ask me this, are you singing now? What are you doing there? The other way of producing ululation is while stroking the bowl, and again, not every bowl will do that. It's a similar technique, you don't get as many different pitches. Many people experience that as kind of bird song, which then we can think of as the birds are being connected with the mind, with the air element, and then it can be the air element is connected with learning the lesson of distinguishing between the higher mind and the lower mind, the spiritual mind and the earthly rational reasoning mind, and so we can think of it as the song of the male bird, the higher mind, singing to attract the attention of the female, our earthly mind, to listen to a different kind of song, or the other way around, whichever you prefer. So now, but the males, normally the male bird sings to the female bird, and I can't do anything about that. They haven't got into equality yet. So now, this is a jumping bowl. So again, not every bowl will do this, but it's where we call it jumping because it seems to move from one pitch, it jumps from one pitch to another. And the way to do that is by bringing the bottom of my hand into contact with the base of the bowl in the way, but very, very, very small. I'm just exaggerating there. So our American friends call that the hand wah-wah, and the ululated bowl they call a wah-wah. You've got the mouth wah-wah and the hand wah-wah, but we call it a jumping bowl. Okay, so let's. Okay, there's a technique in the book which is based on a flam, which is a technique used in drumming where one stick comes down just before another, whatever, and you can do that with the bowl. So with different sticks, this one being a vibraphone mallet will bring out a high sound, it's quite hard, and this being a gong mallet brings out a soft warmer sound, so we can go. So then we get the deep sound of the bowl and the high sound of the bowl, sort of high-low, whereas if you just use that you don't get the low sound because it's bringing out the high sound. It's not stimulating enough of the mass of the bowl, this little beater, to get the lower part moving. But this one, well, will resonate the whole bowl. That's actually a solar plexus bowl. It works on the solar plexus chakra. I remember I was doing a fundraising concert for some Tibetan group in Shrewsbury, I think, way back in the 80s. And we were dropping off in Oxford to sell some of my CDs to a shop, and as we were driving by, I said, oh, look, some bowls in that shop. So we went in, and my wife used to buy and sell bowls. And I saw some big ones in the window, and they were decent prices, so I was thinking I'd like that one and she could sell this one. And my daughter, I thought, I didn't take any more. My daughter came up and she said, Dad, there's one in the window. I said, no, I don't want to take too many. I'll leave some for some other people. Oh, I think there's one in the window. So went and brought it over, and the lady said to me, in the meantime, she'd been saying, what are you doing with these? I said, I'll use them with healing. And when my daughter brought this one over, she said, oh, the man who sold it, he said something about stomach, something about doing the stomach. You know? So then, of course, I struck it and I could feel it straight away going, relaxing down in the solar plexus, letting go and any tension. I thought, well, I can use it for healing, so I'll go and buy it. Forget about, not worrying about, oh, I must leave some behind. Now, there's another technique that we use, which I've come up with, which is sort of a baton. It's called dancing bowl, I call it. So here we have a conductor's baton, and and it kind of sounds like you're playing a little roll on the thing with tiny little matchsticks. You wouldn't get those very high pitches from any other way. So while it's kind of sounds a bit funny, sounds like you've got a cracked bowl, it's a very nice effect. I like it. And then I have another variation, which actually I came up with first, which is to dangle a chain with tiny little metal, like a woman's necklace, to dangle that down there with these tiny little, and they buzz against the side, and again they bring out these very, very high harmonics of the bowl, extremely high, that you can only get. But it's again a very subtle, soft, kind of quiet technique. Then in the bowl we talk about a few other techniques. Gamelan Technique, Gamelan, which is where you turn the bowl upside down and play upon the bass. Which is why I wanted a table to demonstrate some of these things. I couldn't be holding it in one hand and playing it in that. So here is just a... You get the idea. You want a small mallet like that hard as well, but don't want to hit it too hard because the bass is often very thin and it could crack and you could damage it there. Now the other reason to bring these along is to demonstrate the gamelan stopping technique. So here, this is the technique here. These bowls have got quite high partials, they're quite high up, and so it helps us to really start to hear that more when you do the stopping thing. So it focuses in the listening. So it's just another technique. Normally I've got about, I don't know, 25, 30 of these, so I can do it on a larger range. So in fact the concert column mentioned on Saturday, I'll have about 200 bowls. So I have a whole range of yang bowls, and I'll have about 75 yin bowls that are mostly manipuri bowls. And then there'll be a selection of bowls in the centre, a spiral of these bowls, and some what we call elephant bowls, which are from Burrampur, which have extremely thick rims. Oh yeah, the other thing I thought I could demonstrate is the staccato technique. So the staccato technique in drumming is where you would strike a drum but bring the stick back as fast as possible, whereas normally you could sort of play like that, or like that. So it's the same with the bowl. You can strike the bowl like I was striking them then, or you can See how he brings out more of the upper note. So it's with normal striking, I would normally just use that sort of, I'd pull the thing back, I'd push it back with that finger and allow it to strike, so I'm not actually hitting it. You don't want to sort of hit it like you have a hammer in your hand, just want to like that. But for the staccato, you need to grip it tighter and do this very fast, pulling back almost this fraction of a second after you've struck it. How do I know if I'm buying a good sounding bowl? This bowl is very good for demonstrating that, because what I showed you there was that one bowl has got these different sounds inside it. And you hear those different notes. So the thing is, some bowls, what we might call a bad bowl for argument's sake, might only produce 2 notes. One bowl might produce, some of my bowls produce 25 notes. So then it's a question of how do they get on together? There's a family of 25 people here, 25 sounds. Are they all quite grooving along together, or is there a bit of, you know? And so what we call a bad bowl there is when some of the notes within it don't go well together. It's like a sort of growling sound, ugly sound. But if you can hear, if you listen and you try and hear as many sounds as you can in the bowl and hear how they are together, how they get on with one another, that's how you can tell a good sounding bowl from a sort of one that's not so good. I won't use the word bad, but you know what I mean, one that's not so useful. But again, sometimes there may be so many notes in there that then it can be difficult. Depends what you want to use it for. If you want to use it for healing, I mean, some people buy sets of bowls called chakra sets, and they're based on the Western 7 notes of the white notes on the piano, which obviously, when the bowls were made, some of them were like 17th century, they would not have even heard of a diatonic scale, let alone a piano, you know. So they weren't made to produce those notes, and in fact they're not musical instruments, they're ritual instruments for spiritual ritual meditation in a work. So they're not made to produce music, so they ain't more than one sound. So it's already a problem saying, oh, I've got a C, I now need the D. This one, well, there's a D in there somewhere, we'll call that the D bowl. Whereas actually the D in there might be very quiet. If you see a graph of it, you'll see the main note sort of up there, and then another note might be there, and there'll be one down here and a whole little ones doing hardly anything, but they are part of the sound. It also depends what you hit it with. And I would say for testing a good bowl, it's better to strike it than to stroke it. Stroking is quite a technique. The problem that most people have with stroking is I don't like doing it because it's not very nice, but I'll demonstrate. That's the problem most people get, is that it's kind of rattling noise. Let's use it on this yin one. And the question is, what's going on? Why is that happening? And anyway, if you do it like this, then it's because you just don't have enough control over the wand. It's bouncing off the bowl. The other reason is that you're going too fast. So the bowl, if you imagine the rim of the bowl is vibrating to make the sound, then if you're going too fast, it's vibrating very fast and it throws the stick off. So you have to find the right speed for striking. So that's a bit more complicated. So for testing a bowl, striking is a lot easier. And if you've got somebody with you, you can obviously sit there and meditate and ask them to strike it. Or you can strike it and think, oh, that high note, oh, that's sort of, oh yes, it's working in my head, you know, it's speaking to me up there. As a rule, high-pitched sounds affect the head, lower-pitched sounds affect the body, the torso. And so if you're wanting, you know, to affect the body, the feelings, then lower pitch bowls, warmer, softer bowl would work for that. If you're wanting to affect the head and the thinking, then these brighter sounding, higher pitch bowls will tend, especially if they've got a pronounced harmonic like that, pronounced overtone. Other thing, obviously look out for cracks. If there's a crack in the bass is normally silent in a bowl. It's active at the rim, it's still at the centre. That's the dictionary definition of a bell, is still in the centre, active at the rim. Dictionary definition of a gong is active in the centre and still at the rim. If this was a gong, I could strike it holding the rim of the gong and it wouldn't make much difference. The minute I put a mallet in the centre of the gong, it's finished. So the base of the bowl isn't much involved with producing the sound. So if there's a crack there, it shouldn't normally affect it. But a crack up the wall or on the rim, you'd have to find a specialist who could weld it back together and it would sound like it did originally, which takes some doing. I believe it can be done, but it's not easy. The energy of the sound.
Right.
I could go into a room to buy bowls, let's say, and let's say there's 100 or 200 this sort of size on the table. So I'll take with me a thin stick like this for seeing whether they're going to give me a higher note. Because that's what I'm looking for, one of the upper partials. And many of them just won't. Many of them will just produce the basic sound and that's it. But some of them go, what's that? What is that? Is that just a high note, or is that? Because certain sounds will affect the crown chakra, that in the same region of sound, or the third eye, or the soma chakra, which is in between, or bindu chakra. I have bowls for those. But a space cleansing bowl is in the same sort of region, but there's a quality about the sound that is more sort of aggressive. It's like, I tend to refer to it as like a cassette head cleaner. If you could listen to a head cleaner on a cassette, sort of getting rid of all the rubbish, it's kind of like that. It's a bit more, there's a certain discordance note in the sound. But here it's a loud sound. It's high. And I feel that it's cleansing the space. We're getting the 8 frequency there.
Yep.
Which of course the Vairakana, one of the Buddha families, the symbol is the 8-spoke wheel. So, and of course you've got the 8-fold path. But anyway, so the 8's a useful one. But it's to do with the quality, the energy. I don't have, I had that one which produced a sort of a high note, but I have another one which is, I say, soma chakra, and one for the crown, and you can hear that there's a different energy with them. With the crown chakra, most people when I play it can feel it, tickling like the crown of their head. So I think that's a sort of a given, rather than being totally subjective about it and going, yeah, oh yeah, crown. Is it a B? That's what most people that sell bowls will be. That's a B, that's crown chakra. I might have a bowl this big. Crown chakra, but B, it's a B. No, irrespective of the fact that the crown's the top chakra, and that's going to produce a really low, it's not going to affect it might affect the crown, but it's not, for me, it doesn't do it. So it's just a question of tuning in. It's the same with ting-sha, which are the Tibetan meditation symbols. Some of those pairs are very peaceful, very nice, kind of soothing. Others are a bit lively, and then others for space cleansing that I use have a certain really buzz between the two sounds because they're pitched slightly different, and that's to produce the beats. And with these ones, they're very close together, so it's a real shimmering kind of quality, which is good for cleansing and getting rid of any negativity, and also for cut auras. If there's an aura of a hole in it, then I would tend to use ting-sha over those 3 times over where the hole is and seal it up afterwards.
That note sounded bright, clear and very direct. And it also aggressive enough to shake things loose if there's anything there that can be broken off. That's how it felt.
Yeah, maybe I've found about 8 or so space cleansing bowls in having sorted through about 9,500 bowls in about 40 years. So they're not, and they have different qualities. And that's the same with a panic bowl, which traditionally is used for exorcisms. I've got a video up about that on my YouTube, which is down as what am I under there? I think just Frank Perry actually. Used to be Mountain Bell Music, but I think I changed it to Frank Perry. So there's a video there called Panic Bowl, and I also play it and talk about it. But I found a few of those. One lady asked me, "Can you get one?" And I thought, well, very rare. And then somebody I knew found one in a shop. I said, "Oh, so I went down there, and they hadn't got anything to play it with. They had a drumstick, and that wasn't going to work. But I took the stick that I use on my one, And it worked, you know. So everybody in the shop was, oh, you know, and the guy who owned it was, oh, you know. I said, so I won't play it. So I said, would you like me to play it again? Well, no, all right. When was it? When did you say you were leaving? And I said to my daughter, I said, that makes an interesting sound, doesn't it? Sort of nodding, so she knew exactly, oh yeah, he's found another one. But, and then I found that the lady who wanted it, she got two or three others. She went to craft fairs and found these rare panic bowls, but they were slightly different. One was a bit softer, and she kind of liked that one. The one I found for her was intense. It was because they're used traditionally for exorcisms. So again, it's not something you expect. The actual way of playing it, also, it has a base that you hold it by, very solid base, only about 1/4 of an inch, 3/16 at the most, that you've got to grip it by, and you have to really press hard to get the sound. So it's a real, you have to put a lot of effort. You've got to be very focused, which is good for what you're creating on the inner levels, because it works with the silver ray, which is the ray that we would use for such cases, as obsessions, and if someone's been suffering from black magic, for instance, then that normally gets rid of.
Yeah, the particular.
So you get two that are close together in pitch, but they produce this beating thing. So then you get a slow boom, boom, boom. It seems to go right down the body. I was demonstrating that on a chap, and he had heavy breathing. So when he started lying down, he was. And after a couple of minutes it was which was brilliant for demonstrating the effect of the bowls, you see. And of course when I finished he said, what are you doing tonight? I've had trouble sleeping the last 2 nights. Could you come around and see me off, you know? So sound does do these things. But yeah, so a space cleansing bowl is not as intense as the panic bowl, which is for exorcisms, but you can get some space cleansing bowls that are close to that. And don't buy one that someone says is a space cleansing bowl. Go and buy, you know, if you can get hold of a thin stick, just to see whether you can get those upper partials and then hear what that sound does. I remember somebody said to me once, oh, I've got this panic bowl from America. I said, oh, really? Great. You know, how big is it? Oh, about this big, you know. And the ones I've ever seen are only this big, you see. So I know I'm already on the case that this probably isn't a panic bowl. And of course the ones they are very rare design and shape, you know. I'll have one with me at the concert at the London Lodge. I probably won't use it, but I might demonstrate it if people want in the workshop parts of that thing. To see what the energy is wanting to manifest in the current month for the whole planet. And then work on that. Or you can work on your own progress new moon and the 4 phases. So that's the lunar cycle, the sun-moon cycle. So I always start playing the bowl from this position when I'm stroking, because that's like the new moon position, and one always begins a project at the new moon. It's the best time to start that project, because the energy is all happening, it's all coming in. And this one should give us the next, which will be 6 pulses. So Om Mani Padme Hum. Or you can visualize the 6-pointed star, the union of Shiva Shakti, male, female, father, mother. So again, in the book there are a number of exercises one can do based on the 6. So the 6 perfections of the Bodhisattva Vow. You need to go thinner, and it's harder wood each time. This is boxwood. This is laburnum, another English wood. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pulses. The bowl would breathe in and out 10 times in one circle, one cycle. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Then you can focus on the 10 perfections of the Bodhisattva Vow, or the 10 planets, including the fixed stars. And I'm not sure which one of these is going to get me the 12. The 12 is very hard, but let's see if they're going to be kind to me today. So now we're going to even smaller. These are about ½ an inch thick. I've got different things here, ebony, one kingwood. I think that was working quite nice last night. Well, I'm going to try the last one, but it would produce 12. But like I say, it's very hard to do. This is probably one of the only bowls I can normally get that with. Don't hold that much up for that one. No, sorry about that, but with the right one, we will get 12.